and I'm fine. I'm good.
Alhaji was at one point in time, the last time he was in Parliament during his last term, was the ranking member on the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament. And
Yes.
and we've spoken to you on this matter of the ambulances, the case against Dr. Ato Forson, Richard Jakpa, and Big C, and also the recording that came to light. Now, the Court of Appeal has made a decision. A lot of people have the opinion that that decision should put a finality to the matter. We'll come to the AG's decision. But have you had opportunity of reading the judgment? What do you think, if you have?
Well, yeah, so I had the opportunity of reading the lead judgment. I've not read the dissenting judgment yet. The lead judgment has done a lot of good to the issues that came before Parliament, and especially the evaluation of evidence to support the application of put in by the counsel for Ato Forson and Richard Japa on the submission of no case at the trial court. And I think that there is more sense, is logical, is reasonable. It deals with the issue of whether the probable evidence was tendered in court to lead to a conclusion that if the accused person refused to open their defense, an inference of guilt could be made from the evidence led up by the prosecution. And so I think that it's right in saying that, well, the case at the Court of Appeal settled in greater detail what a trial court should be looking for in the submission of no case.
I see. But, and I'm sure you've been following the evidence while the trial proceeded. Was this was it your thinking on the evidence that had been provided thus far, that not so, the evidence that was given was not strong enough to make a case against Dr. Ato Forson and the rest of the witnesses, the rest of the accused persons?
That is not the question the court was looking at. The court was looking at the accused persons and the evidence adduced against the accused persons. And the court came to the conclusion that not sufficient evidence, or if you want, let me put it this way, that there were still lingering doubts at the end of the case of the prosecution on the guilt of the accused persons. Meaning, when the prosecution ended their case, it appears to the majority of judges on the Court of Appeal that sat on the case that it was not proper for the trial court to call on the accused persons to open their defense because no sufficient evidence had been laid against them which required them to answer to the charge. So there are two different things. I've read the statement of the Attorney General, and he says cogent evidence, sufficient evidence, and those things. I mean, the court is saying that within the context of this trial, the content of the judgment or of the evidence and the relevance of the evidence vis-a-vis the guilt of the accused persons or culpability of the accused persons did not meet the high threshold set up or established in section 11(2) of the evidence decree. And so they ought not to have been called to open their defense.
Having said that, and having read the Attorney General's statement, he is even thinking about heading to the Supreme Court. There are those who have the opinion that he should leave it here. In fact, this case has done enough damage to the reputation of even the prosecution of cases under him. that he should just leave it there and not continue any further? Do you agree with those who say so?
Because the case is a political case, I think that the Attorney General has suffered enough damage that it should be mitigating the damage that will occasion him if he goes to the Supreme Court. In any case, an Attorney General and all Attorney Generals must not be overzealous prosecutors who are looking for conviction at all costs. They must be looking for justice in the matter. And the justice of the matter is that the Court of Appeal says, no, Ato Forson, Richard Japa cannot, properly evaluating the evidence, be held responsible for causing financial loss to the state. He said, you should be looking elsewhere, but not to these two people.
You said attorney generals are not supposed to be overzealous prosecutors. In the circumstances,
looking for conviction at all costs.
Is that what he has done in this case?
That's what he has done in this case. I mean, and that is why the case is turning to be referendum against Ato Forson and Richard Japa. But that's not, it should be the Republic. So at any turn of the case, Godfrey Dami as a person comes in forcefully and not as a prosecutor, public prosecutor. And so, because he's put himself in the case, he's so emotionally attached to the case that it has blinded him on the requirement of justice. And that is the problem. And you can give many instances of the Attorney General putting himself or immersing himself in the case to the point of being blinded by the need to follow the ethics of the profession. Now, why will an Attorney General meet an accused person who has been charged for a crime against the state or an offense against the state? It is only an Attorney General who is so overzealous and wants a conviction at all costs, who will go out of his way, flout the ethics of the profession to engage in such improper conduct. Such that it attracted a comment from a trial judge. You see, so I think that the Attorney General should do the needful. Many commentaries have come up on why the Attorney General is prosecuting this case. Some have said it's precisely because of the configuration of Parliament now. Others have said that it's an attack on his leadership as a minority leader. Some have said that the minority leader only came within the radar of government when he stood up against the e-levy in Parliament. And so many people are adducing political reasons for the prosecution of Ato Forson. In fact, Richard Japa says that the Attorney General did assure him that he was not the subject of the trial, but the minority leader Ato Forson. And so clearly, this case is turning on a matter that clearly can be described as political witch hunting. And for the Attorney General not to have read even the ruling or judgment of the Court of Appeal and went ahead to describe it as perverse and inimical to our democracy speaks volumes of the overzealousness of the Attorney General.
In fact, which of those reasoning do you ascribe to as perhaps the major reason he prosecuted the matter in the way in which he did it? What do you think his influence was?
If I get you right, the Attorney General is an appointee of this government. This government suffered a humiliating defeat in Parliament when they lost more than 16 seats in the last elections to the NDC. That has changed the way governance, and especially parliamentary governance, is run in this country. Now, when you read Article 73 or so, which allows the president to appoint a majority of his ministers from Parliament, and decision-making powers of Parliament, and the fact that the 78 allows the president to choose a majority of his ministers from Parliament, you will see that in this present configuration of Parliament, the government is hard put into ensuring that it has the requisite number of members in Parliament to carry out the business of governance. So, and this is not new and limited only to Ghana. In democracies where these things happen, and especially transitional democracies, you will see the executive arm of government going after the minority in Parliament to try to win back some seats to be able to shore up their numbers in Parliament. And so, what is happening ties in neatly with what politicians, and especially unbridled politicians, do when they are faced with challenges and difficulties in Parliament. And that is why this case is turning on all its force and all its heads, and creating the impression that the minority leader must go to jail at all costs. You remember the Richard Japa case, where the Attorney General is reported to have said that, well, they need to conclude the matter 6 months before the general elections, because if it is done less than 6 months, they might not be able to hold a by-election. And so all these things clearly point to one thing: the desire of the executive to win more seats, or to add one more seat on its side in Parliament.
In fact, Mr. Jakpa at some point called himself a convict in motion. That he felt that there was no way he was going to survive this. That what he sees is an attempt to get him convicted at all costs.
I think he was not far from being right, because the machinations and the maneuvering of the Attorney General lends credence to his observation.
But this morning we're just talking about a story in which, going back to that recording and questions about how he's handled the matter, the Attorney General, there's a story that says that there are even disagreements within the Bar Council as to whether he should be allowed to address the Bar Conference, because those actions are clearly against the ethics of the profession. What do you think?
I think that even the statement that he issued should be enough for the bar to say that they don't want to be associated with such an Attorney General. In fact, in the recent history of the United Kingdom, when the Boris Johnson crashed out of the EU through Brexit, and his government was taken to court, and the court said that he could not do that, the Attorney General spoke harsh words against the judgment of the court. He was sanctioned. So the one of the sanctions of an attorney general who throws decorum to the dogs in the judgment against him is to prevent him from addressing the bar, because the bar is composed of respectable people who are held in high esteem in society, and people who set good examples even when they lose cases. So for an attorney general, not as the leader of the bar, not to follow the time-tested tradition of exercising caution, moderation in his response to judgments against him, should be punished. And one way of punishing him is to prevent him from addressing the bar.
Interesting. So for you, it is not even about a recording. Even the statement he issued in response to the judgment alone should be basis for that.
The time-tested response by even common lawyers who have not yet reached the status of Attorney General of the country is that they respect the ruling, but disagree with the reasoning. And so they will take time, they will take an opportunity to read the reasoning behind the ruling and might explore the opportunity of challenging the ruling upstairs in the Supreme Court. I mean, it's simple. And all lawyers, including the judges, know that if you disagree vehemently with the reasoning behind the ruling, you are allowed to test your disagreement high up. That is why the court is so structured. That's why it's so structured. And so you don't need harsh words to tell the courts that, or the judges, that you will test their reasoning. You don't need harsh words. Yes, because you will come back to them. I mean, so if you come back to them, how can you describe their reasoning as perverse? Perverse. I mean, not supported by any logic. I mean, way off the mark. How can you describe that? I mean, these are judges who probably left the law school at the time that you were in GSS. So you don't do that. You don't do that.
See, and you have the opinion that he shouldn't even, you agree with the opinion that, for the sake of emphasis, that he shouldn't even go to the Supreme Court in the first place.
I think that is a political case. I mean, the government itself should have been looking for ways to end it. The Court of Appeal has done that for them. Why will they suffer themselves in going to the Supreme Court? I mean, they were looking for. I mean, so embarrassing. I mean, and to be honest with you, when I read the majority decision, I couldn't but agree with them. I mean, if you're looking for those persons who cause financial loss in this ambulance case, you should be looking further and not limiting it to Ato Forson. I mean, in any case, all the evidence that you adduced in court was that Ato Forson performed his official duty by issuing letters of credit. And that was what he was supposed to do. And you said he had no authority to do so. Meanwhile, there is a material witness. The minister at that time. Who is the material? You didn't call the minister as a witness to show that he didn't give Ato Forson the authority to issue those letters. And you want others to say that he had no authority. And you want a chief director or an employee of the Ministry of Finance to say that when they saw the letters of the letters of credit, they assumed that it was the deputy minister who issued it and not the minister. How can you prosecute somebody on the assumptions of another person, on conjecture? How can you do that? There was a cogent evidence. There was a material evidence. And that evidence must come from a material witness. And in this particular case, the material witness has been defined as somebody whose evidence can change the case one way or the other. And in this case, you are saying that the deputy minister did not have the authority of the minister. Which material witness do you need to show that the deputy minister did not have the authority of the minister? You remember on your network, I told you that the way the argument they were pushing was so dangerous for all deputy ministers. You remember? Yes, it was so dangerous. They're trying to suggest that any time that a deputy minister has to take an action for and on behalf of the minister, he has to go to the minister for a written permission, not even verbal permission, written permission. Because if you are made a deputy minister, you are made to assist the minister. And in anything that you do, you are assisting the minister. This time they are saying that no, you need authorization. So it's so dangerous that it's not funny. I don't know why they are refusing to see that they are exposing all deputy ministers in this regime to harm.
Interesting. Alhaji, before I let you go, just two things, other things not related to this case. One, there's a story in the newspapers today about the president launching what they call DRIP, the District Road Improvement Program. I recall that under your administration, there was a point where I think you distributed, was it excavators or one of those equipers to each district or municipality to help with road improvements. I'm correct, right? Yes.
It was under Collins Dauda.
Under Collins Dauda. Okay.
He was the local government minister.
Okay. But what attracted my attention is this persistent suggestion by the president that, reflecting on the past achievements, and I'm reading from the Daily Guide, the president noted that from 2017 to December 2023, his administration completed 12,830 kilometers of roads and other 6 interchanges, a significant increase compared to 4,636 kilometers and 5 interchanges completed during the Mills Mahama era from 2009 to 2016. You were the last roads minister before that government, the NDC government, bowed out. How do you respond to this?
Well, you must know that this government believes in not telling the truth. Honesty is not part of the values that they cherish. And so they spew out such lies and they want us to go with the lies. Even before I answer your question, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, campaigning in Bolga Centra, just some few days ago, said that John Dramani Mahama cut short for the Boku Bolga Pulmakom Road in December 2016, few days to elections, to hoodwink the people. That's what he said. And that road was not cut in December. So it was not cut in December. And what beats my understanding and imagination is how a vice president who has access to all the information that he needs on the road can go to the people in Bolga Central and peddle that falsehood. If you just Google shortcutting of Bolga Boku Pulmakom Road, you will see that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama cut short for the construction of the road on 12 July 2016 when he was in the Upper East region on his accounting to the people tour. And that sword was cut at Sebila. So you see, I'm just using this to demonstrate to you the fact that these people do not value truth and honesty. Now, you remember what they said President Kufuor had done? We had constructed 11,000 kilometers of road. You remember?
Yes.
And when we went to his last State of the Nation address, President Kufuor himself indicated his scorecard, his performance, and all that was just about 3,000 kilometers of road. You know why they said that? Because at the Ministry of Roads and Highways, there is every 4 or 5 years, you do a road index or survey. How many new roads have come on? And when we say new roads, the communities are expanding. So because they are expanding, the population is growing around 10% per year. So push paths and paved roads come up every now and then because of the expansion of the community. So the Ministry of Roads and Highways is under obligation to do a road index survey and see which roads have been created by reason of the expansion of population and the expansion of the cities, and then they put it in the road index of Ghana, and they start the process of engineering those roads. Now, so when they do that, because of population expansion and the creation of unapproved roads or roads that have not been engineered, and they say, well, our road index is now so much, thousands of kilometers. What MPP simply does is that they subtract what the Minister of Roads and Highways has produced from they subtract the previous road index from what the Ministry of Roads and Highways have compiled, and they say they have done that. And I ask, for 3 years running, the president declared the year of roads. It was a catastrophic failure. He says we have done so many. Meanwhile, he has not even, the president has not mentioned one road that was started by the MPP and completed by them. No, he has not. And watch their communication. Anytime they are talking, they don't give you the reference point. We have completed this number of kilometers of roads. An example is this road, which was started in 2017 or 2000. It's not 2017. Any road started in 2017 was a road awarded by the NDC. It takes time to award roads. Now, so which was started in 2018 and completed in 2020 or 2022 or 2023 or 2024. The famous interchange that they mention always, the APC, the Riz Junction interchange. That interchange started long before I even went to the ministry, under Hamidu Suleimana. When they were following, then they did the designs and they were following the money from the African Development Bank. While in office, I met the Chinese contractors who were to undertake the project. We approved the drawings, the design for the interchange. We left office and they came and continued and awarded the contract. They say, oh, we did it. We did it. You are yet to be told what interchange in this country that MPP did the concept, the design, and then source funding to complete. The Obichebi-Lamti interchange. I went to Parliament and said that we're going to do the Obichebi-Lamti interchange in 2 phases. I went to Parliament for them to approve the money for the first phase and that there will be a second phase. The drawings had been done by NDC under John Mama. The design, the money had been sourced, the quantities, and how much will be needed to do the road had been done. So, for this government, they believe that not telling the truth will get them elected. And that is what the Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP are doing, including the running mate or the flag bearer. And I just gave you an example of his statement. I was embarrassed that somebody who holds himself as a doctor And a doctor should know research. Even if the speech was written for you, just Google. You will not make that mistake of saying that salt was cut for the construction of the Bolga Boku Plumagong Road in December 2016. Because you're a doctor. And I presume that you had to do some research at a point, even at your master's level. So you mean that the vice president did not research? You mean the president did not research? They just wrote for him the statement and he came and delivered? No, it's scandalous.
So you're questioning the figure that they are putting out, 12,830.
There is no such. My brother, go and take the budget from 2017 to 2024. Look at the money that the Ministry of Roads and Highways had been given for the 4 or 8 years. Divide the road that they say, the kilometers of road that they say they have constructed over the monies that has come to the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and you see whether those then kilometers of roads could have been constructed with that money. In addition to that, for 2 years we were under COVID. Now we are bankrupt. And you say you have done all these things. I'm telling you that they do a road index. Call any engineer, he will tell you at the Ministry of Roads. Somehow, anytime they are doing the index, then they did it the last time, it was Kufuor who was in power. And then I remember my colleague James Ebosu who was saying that Kufuor did a lot of roads until his attention was drawn to the final State of the Nation address that Kufuor gave and indicated the number of roads that had been, the kilometers of road that had been done. So the same thing, the road index survey was done under the Akufo-Addo. They are still even yet validating it. They are still yet validating it. And then he goes to say that his government has done more roads. And I ask, where are the roads? So where are they?
I see. And the other thing I wanted to take your thoughts on is that over the weekend, of course, virtually the entire DC was in Tamale. At least the top leadership of the party were in Tamale for the campaign launch, which we were also part of. Thank you for the fantastic hosting. But the big question is, now if you're looking at the northern region, we have 9 seats for the MPP, 9 seats for the NDC. One of the major things that need to be done if the NDC is to win the election, a lot of people point out that needs to change in the northern region. One of the places where at least the NDC needs to still exert its influence and dominance. Is that possible in the coming election?
It's doable. I don't want possible. It's doable. We are embarrassed as leading members of the NDC in the northern region. We are embarrassed that a region that once christened itself as the IMF of the NDC is now having to share in the presently constituted northern region seats with the MPP. In the larger NDC, northern region, NDC has more seats than MPP has more seats than NDC. It's 16, 15. It's so embarrassing that the people who were initially NDC have been allowed to drift off, hoodwinked by the MPP. And we are working assiduously to reclaim those seats. It's a matter of strategy, and I believe you will understand me if I tell you that I cannot reveal the strategy that we will employ to be able to take back our seats. Some of the seats, or most of the seats, are winnable. They are winnable. Now, it's going to be a combination of strategies, including policing the polling station and the ballot box, and ensuring that our people have access to the ballot box to vote. And when they vote, the vote must be protected. I say so because there is a constituency in the northern region, Tolong. The people told us when we visited there that all that they need is that when they vote in the 2024 elections, they want the ballot box opened in their community and the votes counted. They want the verdict of the people to be manifest in their constituency and not taken away some elsewhere to be counted. That was very revealing. And so we are employing some strategies to ensure that we win back our seats. Most of the seats are winnable, including Bimbla. I mean,
Bimbla.
in 2016, the current candidate won in all the outlying communities in the 2016 elections, Dr. Mambua. Now, the Nitawul was able to survive because he exploited the chieftaincy divide in Bimbla and so won massively in Bimbla town and Chamba. That called the elections for him. That gave him victory. In 2020, we changed a candidate, Mohammed Atta, lawyer, who won all the seats in Bimbla, except all the polling stations in Bimbla except one, but lost in the outlying communities. Now, fortunately, and so Neturu won the 2020 elections. He pulled the votes from the outlying communities. Now we have the 2016 candidate coming back. So the strategy will be for him to work with Mohammed Atta and to pool their energies together like Captain Planet. The trick that Mambua used in 2016 to win all the rural communities, and the trick that Mohammed Atta used in 2020 to win all the communities in Bimbla, to bring them together so that like Captain Planet will bring the fire and the water together and be able to win there. So there are and that will involve a lot of movement. Now, one thing that we want to do is to give more meaning to the retail campaigning. We are not going to be mountain platforms and dancing to music, and we want to go and meet the people in their homes, in the markets, in the mosques, in the churches, in their community grounds, and all those things, to be able to sell the message of the NDC to them. And so for us, we are targeting 5 seats. We could win more, but we are targeting 5 seats. I won't mention the seats, but we are targeting 5 seats. We want, at the end of the day, the Northern region to have 14 seats. Northern region, as presently constituted, to have 14 seats at least, so that MPP can have 3 seats or less. And that's what they are known for. They have been known to have only 3 seats in the entire Northern region. We want to send them back to the position that they held in the past, 3 seats. So it is hard work, and we are prepared to commit ourselves to working hard to reverse the fortunes of the MPP in the Northern region.
That's interesting, because the 2 seats you mentioned, Tolon is occupied by Habib Idris. There's Bimbila occupied by Dominic Nitu. In fact, Dominic Nitu is even ready to give everybody in Bimbila to recruit everybody into the military if that's what it takes for him to win. I've also heard mention of Karaga, which is occupied by the finance minister currently, Gushegu. These are seats that are occupied by persons who you can say, at least when it comes to money, are able to command some level of financial resources.